What's up, agents, and welcome back to another Division video. Today we're going to look at something that's been around for a long time, but since we've had some new guns in the game and certainly some with some really extremely good mods, has it actually made this equipment better? But before we get started, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe and consider joining the channel, and let's get straight into it. So I'm going to show you the build right off the rip and then you can judge for yourselves. And this is something everyone can craft once you've done your blueprints at the bench. It's the improvised gear. Now, we've had a couple of really good guns recently, obviously the Ouroboros and the St. Elmo's engine, and these come with some really good mods. You can see here critical hit damage and critical hit chance 20% mods, which then also means you need less in your gear. You can then spec into other things, and that opens it up to spec into survivability or maybe just more damage or whatever you like. And as you can see here, I've gone nothing but damage aside from the 10% armor on kill that we're going to get here and maybe the talent here on the backpack. And if we were to look at the Ouroboros with this, you can see we get a 10% critical hit damage mod and a 10% critical hit chance mod. And then that's not forgetting the huge amount of critical hit chance that we get here on native SMGs. And that's why I thought I would go with this one at first, because I was lucky enough to get an intimidate and adrenaline rush kind of backpack combo, and that sits really well with fast firing SMGs, and that's why I built it this way. Now obviously you can build this any way you want. There is a multitude of options for survivability, for damage, and all, you know, and all things like that. And plus you've got to be a little bit lucky to have the mods available as well to keep this thing max. And I'm actually only 0.1 critical hit damage away from being completely maxed out absolutely everywhere. But you can see here we're sat at 59 crit chance, 198.9 critical hit damage and 100% headshot damage, which, considering, you know, that's right off the rip, where there's no stacking mechanics or anything kind of involved here. We're just going to get that damage by being near bad guys, because obviously we're going to run intimidate here, which, while we have bonus armor, gain 1 stack each second up to a max of 9. Each stack will increase weapon damage by 4% to enemies within 10 meters. And then we're going to make sure we've got bonus armor by running adrenaline rush. You could also run bloodsucker here. I would probably prefer to run bloodsucker, to be perfectly honest. It's just something that I prefer, you know, as usability wise, but either or, this was the one that I would get, because when you roll this at the crafting bench, the improvised gear is completely random. So the core attribute, the attributes and the talent, everything is completely random. So they're not the easiest pieces when it comes to chest and backpack to get. And I didn't really want to throw too many materials into this, because I didn't really know if it was actually going to be any good or not. Because we've got things like, you know, when it comes to SMGs, Hunter's Fury, even strikers that put out a lot of damage. So let's give this thing a go. Right, so we won't select Lincoln Memorial. Let's go Jefferson Trade Center. That's where the mouse ended up. I better put my headset on so I can hear when I'm being shot in the bum. All right, so we're at Jefferson Trade and we're going to take this thing for a drive. Now, first thing to remember here is I've built this super glassy. There is no armor on kill. There's no survivability really. Well, there is no survivability at all. And obviously, you know, you might like play it a little bit different. It would probably lend me a little bit more if I use a reviver hive. But really, we want to see how much damage we can actually really do. Do we need a reviver hive? Do we need any survivability built in? I mean, St. Elmo would be an obvious choice right off the rip, because we get the electric. But can we kill quick enough that we don't have to be reliant on our skills, and that we get the damage prop? We've really got to push with this. And you know, usually with these kinds of builds, it just pays to run Hunter's Fury, right? Because of the disorientation effect and things like that. Gives you plenty of time to get all your damage in. It does a lot of damage, and you know, it CCs at the same time. So would this lend its hand better? Oh, I've just completed the activity apparently. Would this lend its hand better as an AR build? Maybe even an LMG as well. But it does the work, right? This is a weird kind of build. It's a weird kind of way of acquiring it. It's not straightforward. Why is the... Oh, there he is. Hi. But as you can see, it absolutely puts in the work. It pops them weak points like, you know, no one's business. He was disorientated for ages. And obviously the red bars just absolutely melt. Even the yellows do. Look, if I go chest shots here on him, he doesn't last any time whatsoever. Oh. That red bar almost had me. I think red bar's more deadly than normals. Anyway, I've shown you enough. Let's just go through the build, because like I said, I'll give you in full details here. So like skills wise, I would probably run a reviver hive. You know, either run one of these with a reviver hive. It's probably, you know, a safer bet if you're going to do something like this. Gunner for the 10% armor on kill, literally no other reason whatsoever, and just make sure you spec into SMG damage. Oro or perhaps Chatterbox for continued shooting with no reload. That would probably pay off really well with this, actually. I think that actually would be really, really good. Or, like I said, adjust the crit chance, crit damage stats, and go with the St. Elmo's engine as well. That would be another really good shout. Secondary, you know, just kind of whatever you want here. Nothing really to worry about. And then if we're looking at these pieces, you've just got to roll them all on the bench until you get the ones you want. Really, you want to try and get ones with critical hit damage. And then that way, then you can just either roll on headshot damage and then put chance in your mod slots. I've not been that lucky across all my pieces. This one's kind of perfect because I could put critical hit chance here if I needed it. Obviously, I could put whatever I want in the mod slot. But you can see here weapon damage, crit damage, headshot damage, and critical hit damage. Because remember, we've only got to get to 60% critical hit chance, and then we can put everything else into either headshots or critical hit damage. And getting to 60% crit chance is easier than ever right now. We'll come back to the chest and backpack, but you can see with the gloves here, these ones add critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and critical hit damage. So that I can't get rid of the chance on that because of how I've, you know, manipulated the pieces previously. And then we've got here the knees, critical hit damage, critical hit chance, critical hit damage. So you see I've got that same problem there again. I had to keep the critical hit chance. And then with the improvised holster, critical hit damage, critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and there you go. I could use the trick I posted the other day to reset this. And then obviously then once it's reset, I could then... But I still can't re-roll it, you see, so that's the problem, you see. So even resetting the optimizations isn't going to help me with this. I would just have to roll some more and then upgrade them. And the problem is, and I'll be straight up front with you here, you've got to roll these on the crafting bench, right? And the crafting bench does not give the greatest of stats. And therefore then you've got to upgrade them, and upgrading isn't the cheapest either. So although yes, this is a pretty good build, you know, it does the job and it's very easy to acquire, it is going to cost you in materials to get it to where I've got this one to. Chest piece here, crit damage, headshot damage, critical hit damage. I was lucky with this one with Intimidate, and quite frankly, honestly, I probably would have gone with an Obliterate version of this as well. It's just that the Intimidate version came first. So if you have an Obliterate Bloodsucker version, I think that potentially could be better. It just depends which way you like to run. So Intimidate is really good though, and it got a buff. And then the backpack here, again, a Bloodsucker or Adrenaline Rush, whichever one you kind of get first. Headshot damage, crit hit damage, and weapon damage. Now, obviously, I've gone with headshot damage on some of the rolls because I can't put any more critical hit damage on it, and I'm already maxed on critical hit chance. So you could go other things there if you really wanted to. You could go armor regen there if you wanted to. You could, you know, you could basically spec into other attributes. You could go weapon handling for the reload speed and the accuracy and things like that. So totally your own choice there. And that's the thing with an improvised build. It gives you a lot of flexibility to kind of go wherever you want. If we were to look at the stats, you can see I'm at 59% critical hit chance. This should be 199% critical hit damage and 100% headshot damage. And that's absolutely crazy. Now, obviously, there's diminishing returns and things like that to consider because, you know, this is super, super high, you know, and, you know, it really doesn't improve it that much by, you know, adding 10% more in here and there. But we are pushing the boundaries with this build just to kind of see what it does. So if we hop back to the base of operations, and I'll show you the comparison that we talked about earlier. I'm not sure if I've got a Striker's Oreo loadout on my character, but we can check. We can put it together really easily if we have to. So if we go into here, and we'll do the fabled test that everybody hates, but this is going to set, you know, it's a good example. So what we'll do, we'll just push this to, I don't know, invulnerable elite is probably the best thing to look at. So obviously we're going to have our intimidate bonus procced permanently because we're in the range. Let's pull them up to really close, and you can see here on the chest. So armored was 482, and on the head 643. Yeah, no stacking, no needing to wait for anything like that. We get the intimidate bonus rapid nowadays as well anyway. So that's pretty much straight up damage that you're always going to get. So if I bob out of here, so the headshot one was hang on, let me put my damage, well, 643 on the headshot damage, wasn't it? So we can all remember that. So let's come out of here. Let's have a look down my loadouts. What have I got here? Oreo Strikers. Now this is not going to be with intimidate, but let's do this one anyway because it gives the backpack right, and we know that the backpack gives us more damage. 59, 166 and 70 with this, so actually it is loaded out pretty well. And you can see that it starts off lower, but you know, how many clips has that taken me? So that has taken me what, 4 or 5 clips to get to 1,000,000 damage. Now obviously that's 400k difference, but kind of what I'm saying here. And, you know, although we know that Strikers is the ultimate in DPS, you've got to wait to get there. And if you're in a team, or, you know, you're not getting the shots in, or whatever reason, or things are just dying too quickly, you're never going to be at the top of that Striker stat. Now, if you're in Legendary, dead easy, right? You're always going to be at the top of that Striker stat. So they take so many bullets. And I'm not saying that Improvise is the new best in slot or anything like that. Don't get that twisted for sure. Because running this build, Strikers, is always going to be awesome. But just to take into that little bit of consideration there, that look, I'm at what, just less than half Striker stacks. If I get up to about half there and half obliterate, and I'm doing what that other build, the Improvise build, starts off at. You know, I'm having to get to half my stacks with Strikers, half with obliterate to start doing exactly the same as what the Improvise build is just always at. And I just kind of want to bring this into the limelight a little bit, just, you know, for other considerations. You know, if you don't like stacking builds for whatever reason, we know the Oreo build stacks insanely quick, and it basically just makes Strikers even more of a beast. But, you know, obviously it's got 15% rate of fire built into it as well. But I'm just saying, we can play with other builds. Other builds are available. We've got Heroic, and if you are a non-stacking, straightforward, all damage build, this might be one for you to try out. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and consider joining the channel. Thanks for watching, agents. Let me know down below in the comments if you built your own improvised build. What did you do with it? Did you do a skill version, a tank version? Did you just mix pieces in with Strikers perhaps, or whatever else? Let me know in the comments down below. Always interested to see what you guys are putting together, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.